Hi. Well, the good news is the wind stopped, and then the bad news is that when we get a snowstorm, it's Colorado for you. I'm here with Teddy. He's purring. So cute. Love him so much. Look. He's obsessed with me. Yes. Follows me around all the time. You're obsessed with me, Teddy. You are. All right. So Erica asked me a brief explanation explaining eating disorders and the biology response and everything. I was thinking about that and I thought it's not really a brief explanation. I think that book I wrote on it all is like the longest book in the world. Well, that's an exaggeration, isn't it? But you know what I mean. It's the longest book I've ever written. Okay, brief. Well, okay, so I guess I look at eating disorders as a biologically based reaction to energy deficit. Biologically based usually means genetically influenced. So you've got all these ancestors, haven't you? Go back thousands of years, and they all survived famine and stuff. And they also multiplied, because that's how you're here. And they passed on genes when they did that. Stands to reason that it would have been the ones that were better, had a better strategy for surviving famine that actually went on to multiply, because the other one died, unfortunately. Sorry, just how it gets. That's how it goes. Rough out there. Evolution is rough. Survival of the fittest and all that stuff means that the genes that got passed down through the generations would have been the genes of people that survived famine. Famine would have been a big deal. Big deal. Horrible. Yeah. So, well done. Well done you and your ancestors, because they knew what to do. And yeah, it does mean that you have a genetic response to famine, to energy deficit though, because we don't have, well, not in the Western world anyway, we don't have a ton of famine. No, it doesn't count when your favourite store runs out of some salt and vinegar crisps. Not a famine, although when I was 15, I definitely would have thought that counted. So when you go into energy deficit, which is more common than you think, because diet culture and people just like, need to lose a bit of weight. I know, I'll eat less. Sounds like a great idea. Except it's not, because your body's just like, oh, yeah, famine. Oh, got a plan for this. Boom, off go the genetics. And that's when the biological piece is important to understand, because if something's biologically based, it just doesn't feel that optional. One thing I always liken it to is when people who are, their clock starts ticking and they want to have a baby, which is mental. Having a child, mental. Who would ever want to do that? But when your biology starts kicking off about it, it seems like the best idea anybody ever had, to have a tiny human strapped to you for the rest of your life. Horrible idea, isn't it? My biological clock never started to tick, although it actually did for one day only. I was broody. I remember it was terrifying. I genuinely felt like I wanted a kid. And then another part of me was like, this is crazy. And I remember walking past somebody who had a kid with them, and part of my brain was like, that looks nice. But then the other part of my brain, the less mental part, was like, no, it's not. What are you thinking about? You don't want a kid strapped to you. But then, yeah, that broody part was like, it's cute. And the other part was like, no, it's not. It's ugly. Baby humans are ugly. Anyway, so thank God I didn't get broody for more than a day. It wore off, went away, and that's why I don't have kids, because it would be mental to have kids. That's crazy. That's what crazy people do. But biology makes us do crazy stuff and makes it seem like a good idea. So that is why when you go into energy deficit, and if you have the genetic predisposition for an eating disorder, your biology starts to kick off and make you do crazy stuff, and makes you feel like, I know, getting skinnier is a good idea, and getting compulsive about exercise is a good idea, and starting to be obsessive about what you eat is a good idea. Well, it seems like a great idea at the time. Seems like the best thing that you could possibly do, until it's not, until you realise it's completely taken over your life, but you just feel like you can't stop doing it. And that's the other thing about biological urges are strong. So what we have to do in recovery is we've got to shut that shit down. We have got to stop the brain doing what it's doing. And guess what? The only way to do that is get out of energy deficit so your brain no longer thinks there's a famine. And then that biological famine response will hopefully switch off. Now, the bit that makes it not quite as simple as just coming out of energy deficit is the length of time that one spends doing weird shit. That's when neural pathways start to get formed, because if you do anything repetitively enough, you form neural pathways. And there is why we have to do the neural rewiring piece as well as the nutritional rehabilitation. And the neural rewiring piece is training your brain out of learned neural pathways, thought patterns, behavioral patterns, all of the weird stuff that you do that just seems like it's you, but actually it's not. So if you want what I do in a nutshell, and my approach to eating disorder recovery in a nutshell, I guess that was just it.